All right. So I think all of us should be live. So we'll just wait for a confirmation if everything is fine, if the audio, video is good, and if everything is good to go, then we can start with today's session. All right. So my view is also fine. All right. All good? ठीक है, चलो, perfect. All right, so let's get going and welcome everyone to this special session that we have. And this is something that I am personally very excited about because when we talk about B schools in general, when we start talking about a lot of things that happen at B schools, before the B school, and so on and so forth, there are quite a few milestones that people go through, right? And all the viewers of this channel would have gone through those ups and downs of mock tests and mentorship sessions, mock analysis, having a good profile, bad profile, those kind of discussions. And you have gone through a lot of things at this point in time. And now a lot of you would be preparing for interviews, and you feel that you are a part of this bunch that has come through this trial by fire kind of a thing, right? And you are basically here right now. But then I just want to tell you one thing, that you have not even started the most exciting part of your journey. And yes, we're talking about the B school. So first step is, of course, as in converting your interviews, going through them really well. And then you are a part of a B school. Then that is kind of an ecosystem in itself, wherein you will again have ups and downs and summer internships, final placements, lateral placements, I don't know, placecom interactions, your committee work, all those things, internships, all those things will be there. And to take you through that entire journey with a specific focus on how to handle your interviews. So whenever you have an interview of 15, 20, 30 minutes, what is it that the panelists are looking for? So that is basically something that we are going to focus in today's session. And we have a panel of three people here. So we have Sristhi, we have Ankit, we have Simran with us, who have agreed to be a part of this discussion and contribute their views and their experiences to all of our audiences who are watching this, right? So what I will do is we will have a formal round of introduction for all of you. But before we start, just as an icebreaker, what is this one thing um, that you think your B school friends, your batchmates would find surprising? So we'll start with Srishti. So what is it that you will want to talk about?
Well, I think very difficult question, I would say, because everybody really knows me pretty well. One thing that people might find very surprising would be, I think, one thing that I can think of right now is apart from the job that I'm doing at HUL, apart from the placements and everything, I was the day I entered into IIM Kozhikode, I'm from IIM Kozhikode, I was already involved in a very formal setting of GDPI sessions. That is one thing for sure. And I was guiding many students, and many of the students have really cracked, the Holy Trinity as well, ABC and everything. And then they come back to me and then they tell me that, ma'am, this is how it happened. The questions that you asked, those were the really ones that got asked to me in the interview. That's so good. The feeling. That's amazing. And that's something that I've also, not many people would know, definitely. Not many of my batchmates would know that. Yeah.
Interesting, nice. So you have been on both sides basically. You have trained and you have
Yes,
also
yes,
prepared
yes.
for these.
Yeah.
Great. What about you, Ankit?
I think one thing which perhaps B school is known for being rigorous, right? But I think one thing which people perhaps don't know about me that much, or even about B school as a whole, it can also be a very fun place. I think for me personally, when people look at my profile or just speak to me, they don't really expect that I'm a big prankster, right?
Okay.
And my best friends they hate me for it, but it's a really fun experience in that way. You learn a new side of yourself, and it sort of teaches you how you manage yourself. It teaches you how you're supposed to manage yourself professionally after B school as well. So I think that's a really fun the other side of the B school in that way.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Simran?
So I think on a similar vein as Srishti, I was actually working as an HR for a
Okay.
firm. So I would actually take interviews for people who were in B schools for their placements. And then I went to the other side and then I started interviewing for the B schools. So I think that was quite interesting. seeing from interviewing people who for placements to actually going and sitting for interviews for these schools. I think that was very interesting.
All right. So we have had people with interview experience, right? Core delivery experience as well as being a part of interview. So I think that should be a very good bit of discussion. Also, all of you are here because of this initiative by HUL that you have, and Hindustan Unilever is something that you have to experience. I don't think any of us can sit here and tell you what the brand stands for or what exactly is the experience like. But I remember vividly during my stint, during my MBA. Uh, I think HUL was one of the biggest pre-placement talks that we had, right? And maybe the first or the second slide wherein they just showed a clip of how starting at say 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. people start using HUL products until late in the night they keep on using HUL products. So that basically showed what kind of breadth was that. And I'm pretty sure that most of my B school, so I did my MBA from FMS Delhi, and most of the people who were a part of that pre-placement talk were sold within those first 2 minutes, right? So that is basically what it stands for, and as we explore it more we will talk about it. So yeah, now we will have a formal introduction of all of you. So if you can just walk us through your journey, you can skip the CAT percentile and the entire preparatory journey part. But if you can just talk about what it was like, how did you prepare, what is your background, and what is it that you're doing right now? I think that will be great. I think, yeah. So we'll start with Ankit. So, yeah, Ankit.
Yeah. So I perhaps have a slightly different story. I was born and raised in Dubai, in UAE. I did my schooling there, and then had come to India to pursue my undergraduate degree.
Hmm.
I did engineering from Delhi Technological University in DTU.
Okay.
Post which I ended up back home in UAE, where I was working for Urban Company. They had just come in. It was a startup. It was a typical startup type environment, 30 people in the org. Very small, but it was also my first exposure to sort of a leadership role, right? I was a category manager in the beauty and wellness division.
Hmm.
I think over there, when I worked with leadership, I sort of realized that, all of these people, they have very similar backgrounds. They've all done an MBA from either an IIM or XLRI. And I was quite impressed by their line of thought, the way they thought, their style of thinking, the questioning about different schemes that we rolled out, the strategies they had in place.
Hmm.
And part of me thought that maybe an MBA played a huge role in developing these characteristics. That's sort of why I wanted to go for an MBA in India. And that's how I started my prep. It was the standard way, right? You sort of start giving mocks, you see where you stand, analyze them, and start improving. So that was my journey. It's been fun. I'm almost done actually. This is my last week, and I'll be joining HUL soon as well. So looking forward to that.
So, nice to hear that. What about you, Simran? What has your journey been like?
Right. So I did my undergrad in psychology from DU, and then I did my master's in psychology from TIS.
Hmm.
Post that, I started working in an HR role. And before joining my B school, my role was largely that of transactional HR, which is basically the operational side of HR that focuses on executing routine processes like recruitment, onboarding, HR operations. So what I realized was I was operating more on implementation than strategy.
Hmm.
So I think that is a shift that I wanted to make, moving from transactional to transformational HR, focusing more on the strategic aspects. And I thought that that was a gap I had.
Hmm.
So that's how I decided to pursue an MBA. And I think regarding my preparation, so I had last studied maths in 10th grade. So that was an area I had to work especially hard in.
Hmm.
So yes, then again, the same journey, giving mocks,
Hmm.
just being regular at it, consistent, managing that with my work as well. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's how it looked like.
So great. And Srishti is back.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
I'm audible and visible both.
Yes, all good, Srishti. So
Yes.
Srishti
Okay.
basically is at a slightly weird place, and she's
Yes.
facing some internet issues. So let's
Yeah.
hope that we will be able to get through your introduction. So we were just discussing
Right.
about your journey till now. So yeah,
Okay.
over to you, Srishti.
Okay. So should I start with the introduction? Is it?
Yes.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Srishti Yadav. And okay, I'm from Mumbai. I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. I completed my engineering in 2022 from VJTI. That's in Mumbai again. I completed it in electronics engineering. And post that, I worked at JPMC for a year as a software engineer. And that's when foundation school happened back in April 2023. Post that, I did my ULIP with HUL, now doing my UFLP. I've done already a couple of stints here in HUL in the finance domain. Right now, I'm in my rural stint, and because of which, really sorry, there is a lot of connectivity issue. I'm living with the villagers in their homes, so very, very different kind of experience for now. Yes.
Great. So I'm
Yeah.
sure it's very exciting because
Yeah.
it's a different setup, right? You don't get to
Yes,
experience it.
yes.
And of course, being from Mumbai as well, you might not have been to
Definitely,
to
definitely. I'm
come
here
to.
in a village which is near Palghar district. It's called Balwanda.
Yeah.
And right now I'm sitting at the Don Bosco Technical Institute, which is like nearly 8 minutes walk from the home that I'm staying in with the village, with the villagers, just getting to know their livelihood, their routine, etc. We have a project here with an NGO. So that's how life is going on since the last 2-3 days. We have 2-3 weeks more to go over here. Yeah.
Oh, great. Great. All right. Simran, I have a question specifically for you. Uh, because you come from a psychology background, what exactly was the thought process like? As in, how did you convince people that, okay, this is basically what I want to do? So, how did you go about it?
I think so. The transition was gradual for me because from psychology first, I started working in HR. So I think that was one reason why when I went for my interview, I think one thing that XLRI really focused on was why HR, because that was something they really focused on, and because I already had work experience in HR, I think that question I could navigate pretty well. I had like solid reasons for wanting to pursue HR. But I think psychology, also organizational psychology, is one subset that's sort of closely related to HR. So that's how the transition happened.
Great. Great. Nice. So that again, it helps, right? Having a background in psychology will at least introduce you to HR, if not more than that.
Right, right.
That's great. That's great. Ankit, I think you have a lot of fans in the chat. By the way, I don't know if you're checking your YouTube chat, but
I'm
I,
not.
s- I think there are some people who know you who are in the chat and they're wondering what kind of a prankster are you. So that's a different story. But of course, having done your studies in Dubai and then coming here and then going through DTU and then working again, what is it like? As in, what is it like working abroad and working here? Do you see any difference as such?
I think in urban companies specifically, the differences were slight because it was an Indian org at the end of the day. My
Hmm.
office was, I would say, 95% Indians itself. And UAE, because of the strong Indian diaspora, it doesn't feel that far away. But in India, I would definitely say, I think one thing which I've learned since I've come back over here is people are very quick thinkers. They're very sharp on their feet, right? I think in UAE, things were a bit more slow, more process driven, right? More straightforward in that sense. But over here, uh, you know, whether it's projects, whether it's an actual deal which is being done between businesses and so on and so forth, they're snapped up in minutes, on the spot discussions. That's something which I really like, right? I personally like that way of working as well,
Hmm.
being on your feet. And I'm sure, maybe Srishti might be seeing that going on in the village she's in, village she is in as well, right? I'm assuming that's how the Kirana store workers, the distributors, really also works. I think
Hmm.
that's something which is very unique to India, and that's something that definitely excites me as well.
So nice. And Srishti, regarding
Yeah.
your journey, was there at any point in time some doubt regarding the pivot that you were taking? Again, you come from an engineering background, so was there any voice in your head which said that should I continue with tech? Should I go with MBA?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think so. It all started when I was already in JPMC. I was a software engineer there, doing my job pretty well. I liked it. The company was good. Everything was very fine. I think I was doing very comfortably, living comfortably. But then it all started when I realized I'm working for a team which also has a point of, they have a business overview. That's how it all started, which I was lacking. And that's when I thought that probably, I should do an MBA. But of course, I was wondering what domain. That was a big question.
Hmm.
And finance was something that really fascinated me from the start. but you're an engineer, you don't have a CA, you're not a BCom, and plus after that CFA, you're not done, you're not an FRM, nothing of that sort. You have zero finance knowledge, but that's something that you really want to get into. So that was the time when I really was at a crossroad, whether I should continue with tech or I should go into finance, because it was something very new, and that that's a domain where you have to start from scratch, right? So definitely there was the point. But I think what made me do it still was, I think, एक ही life hai, why not probably risk it? Because you can anyway come back. I know coding, I know my things pretty well. If ever I feel I need to step back and come to the original domain I was working with, I trusted my skill set over there. I thought maybe if I want to come back, I'll come back. So it just started off from the place, knowing that I can come back. So there's a place I can come back to. Trusting my skill set was the thing, I think, probably. But even in MBA, when I had to make a decision, ki finance lena hai, or should I just, do product management as other engineers are doing, even there, I followed what I really wanted to do at that point of time. And I also convinced a lot of people, including my parents, that I really want to get into finance. Without any prior experience, without any professional certification, that's where it all happened. And I'm glad it happened, really. So because HUL also gave me that, that confidence they had in me, that probably I can do well. Yeah, so I'm grateful.
So again, talking about HUL, because you mentioned specifically HUL, right?
Yeah.
So I believe you have been a part of the Unilever internship program as well as the
Yes.
foundation schools, right?
Yes.
So at what point in time did you get introduced to HUL? Was your experience was similar to what I had, and it was like, wow, okay, this is something that seems like an aspirational thing to me. So what was your introduction to HUL like?
Okay, so I'll be very frank over here. Of course, it was very similar to you, so Shashank, sir, because you see it, of course, as a brand which you see all during the day, right? Definitely a big brand name to work with, to be get associated with, was the first thing that came into my mind. Definitely, I'm not gonna lie over there. But when you read about the foundation school, so I came to know about foundation school in Jan 2023. So that was also the time when GDPR things were going on. The entire interview prep was going on. So that kind of clashed with that. But I applied for it because first, of course, the biggest FMCG that I knew. That was, of course, one thing. Secondly, it said that it's a pre-MBA workshop. Right? It's a pre-MBA experience. Now I was very curious of what is pre-MBA. What could you possibly teach me which is like a pre-MBA thing? Now, what I did next was I connected with a few of my seniors who I knew had done foundation school, and they just told me that the things that you will get hold of there, the concepts, the clarity with which you can speak, and the clarity which these leaders are going to give you, that's going to really help you from the start of your MBA journey. So I think that really motivated me. Ki if I can be a step ahead than all of my batchmates, so why not? So I think that's when it all started. Applied for it, and the process, yeah,
Nice.
that's this thing.
Great. So Ankit, regarding the Unilever Foundation School and the journey with Unilever, you were also a part of it, right? So how would you say it helped you, or it is helping you in your B school journey? What things got added to you once you were done with the program?
I think I would say there's a story to this, but I would say it helped me on day one of my college. I walked in. The first class is a marketing class, and for some reason our prof has kept a surprise quiz on day one, the first time I step into this B school. And
So true.
it talks talks about the quiz. Of course, nobody has prep for it. You cannot prep for a quiz on day one. There's no syllabus to it. But the entire quiz was snippets of what I had heard from leaders in HUL Foundation School, and I turned that I did well. Right, so I think it gives you an edge, not just in one quiz, but throughout marketing 101 and even beyond. It definitely gives you an edge. HUL, beyond marketing, and beyond their lessons in marketing excellence, beyond that, it's discussed as a case study on how you should be as an org, right? I have a few friends in XLRI as well, and perhaps even Simran can add to this. Even when you talk about, say, HR practices, it's known to be, it's known to be one of the best in the world. And when you go there in that workshop, you get to see HUL in its entirety. You get a very holistic view of it beyond the marketing as an org. How do you be an exemplary org? I think in that sense, you get to learn a lot about how a business should be run, how things should be run, and it helps you throughout your MBA in that sense.
Nice. Right. So Ankit mentioned lessons in marketing excellence. That is basically Lime, which is the case study, the competition basically that is floated at the top B schools. So again, that is something that all of you who get into these B schools should look forward to. It's a pretty exciting journey, and again, I think it started round about the time when I was doing my MBA, and I have seen it grow from being conducted in a small setting at FMS, and then they televised it live, and all those things happened basically in the first couple of years or so. So yeah, that is again one thing that you should look forward to. And Simran, I have a question for you as well. In terms of let's say someone who is watching this right now, right, and they are aspiring to be a part of HUL, because of course people have heard of HUL, and they want to be a part of this entire journey, including the foundation school, which is primarily the reason why all of us are here. So what would be your words of advice to people who are going through their interview prep right now, but they also have this small thing that is a side quest kind of a thing for a lot of people? So what will be your advice for these people?
I think, yes, so similar to everybody else's experience, I also had my foundation school applications and B school interviews happening simultaneously. And I remember a senior of mine who was already at who was already at Excel telling me that, this is an opportunity, do not miss this.
Hmm.
It can genuinely make your MBA experience and make your profile stand out.
Hmm.
And they had sent me the link to foundation school. And I think I I would definitely advise people to apply for it. So just to give you a brief about how our experience was there. So we were invited to the Unilever headquarters in Mumbai. Our flights and accommodation, everything was taken care of. So we interacted one-on-one with the CFO, with the chief people officer at HUL. We interacted with business leader across the categories. So hair care portfolio covering brands like Dove, Sunsilk, Tresemme, Clinic Plus, because HUL is everywhere, right from, and also to Vim, Surf Excel. And the discussions covered everything from positioning, segmentation, category strategies. And then I think my favorite part was visiting the Lakme R&D center. We got to make our own lip glosses and lipsticks. So, and then we also went on ground, spoke to consumers, visited modern trade stores to see how the strategy actually translated into shelf presence. So
Hmm.
I think by the time I entered B school, I already had a lot of context on how, and how such a huge FMCG operates, and it definitely gave me a head start. And I think another thing was that foundation school also provided visibility into the ULIP program,
Hmm.
because since I had been there at foundation school, I had a little better idea about how HUL operates and what they're looking for. So I think that was also a clear advantage that I had for my internship interview. And since HUL was where I wanted to pursue my SIP,
Hmm.
it was just the perfect opportunity for me. And now that I'll be interning there, it feels like a very full circle moment.
Oh, great. Great. All right. So we'll come to the main part of the session, right? So HUL, I think people are sold on HUL right now. And given an opportunity, everybody will want to take it up and apply and at least try it out, because I think the process is also rewarding. It's not just the final 3 days that happen, but also the entire process. It prepares you for your B school journey, is what even I feel. So Srishti, coming to you.
Yeah.
Now we will just segue to the interview side of things. So what was your interview day like? And I'm not talking about the questions that were asked and the answers that you gave. That is fine.
The B
But
school
what,
interviews, is it?
yeah, yeah, B school interview. So what was your feeling on the day of the interview? Any butterflies? Any thoughts that you had? Any weird thoughts you had? Experiences that you had?
Yeah, sure. So I am in general a very nervous person. Definitely a lot of butterflies before the start of the interview. As soon as I reached the venue, definitely. I think very, very weird experiences were in a couple of interviews. First,
Hmm.
definitely I am Kozhikode. So they this when the moment I stepped into the room, they asked me, "We know your father. Okay, we know
Oh,
about him. Yeah, we know your father." And I was like, okay. I did not react at all after
nice.
that. Yeah, and then they started asking me questions, and they also pointed out he's into physics, he's into astrophysics, is it? I was like, probably they know or not. I was a little bit disturbed in my mind, a little bit there, but the interview continued. After that, I asked them while leaving. They just asked, "Do you have any questions for us?" I said, "No." Post that, I just turned around while leaving and asked them, "Do you really know my father?" And they're like, "No." I was like, maybe. So that was a moment that probably they were testing me of how will I react to that situation? Will I get overconfident? Will I get very nervous or something? So I think very, very weird tactic to judge that for sure. SPGen interviews are again very weird, I feel. They ask you to convince them to be your friend. What qualities do you want in your ideal life partner? What qualities do you want in your ideal friend? So these kind of questions are very common there. One thing happened in my IIM Calcutta interview, which I really want to point out. I was in a way very nervous because Bangalore uske pehle ho chuka tha, and this was my second best call for sure. Calcutta was there. And I was on the technical side of JPMC. I was not into finance properly. And of course, I did not know also about it much, as I already mentioned. They asked me, what do you do exactly? What's the role of an engineer in a bank? I explained whatever it was. They said, okay, so you do option pricing and all. Like, yeah, I do the technical part of it. Now they asked me, what's the Black-Scholes equation? So that's like the
Ooh.
main formula for option pricing. Thankfully, my manager at that point of time, I already told him that, see, I'm giving interviews. I've already given, definitely
Yep.
I'm leaving by this month. And he told me, just prepare this also for your interview. He was very
Nice.
great manager. Yeah. And that I prepared well so that I could answer that. But at that moment, I became a very overconfident, probably overconfident. I don't know. They just judged it from your face. So, guys, please be sure that you don't show a lot of emotions on your face. It can be like a Uno reverse on you at any time. So after that, they asked me that the Hindenburg case was going on at that point of time. It's a very new hot topic. They asked me, what's the role of media? And I answered my bit, but they were not satisfied clearly. And then they started shooting. Oh my God. The comments. And it was not questions, they were comments that you don't know this, you don't know that, you're appearing to a B school interview. I did not realize now when I look back, I realize it was a stress interview kind of a situation. I did
Mm.
not realize back then. And that was the moment I was like, oh my God, maybe I have messed it up entirely. I was all in tears almost. I was so controlling that part. But after that, the stats part of the interview started and I messed that up. So I think that's why I landed up in a wait list. But it's very important to control your emotions. Don't show a lot of emotions on
Mm.
your face. That's like tip one. Tip two, we say this always, please don't flow into the stress part of the stress interview. Make sure you are calm, composed. I know it's very tough, but that's the only way out.
Yeah.
Yes, these were the few weird experiences. Lucknow interview was a 3-minute interview for me. Just that. It was just, okay, you've learned Bharatanatyam from
Uh,
whom? That's it. That's it. That's
okay.
the entire interview. Very
Weird.
weird, yes.
Weird. Yeah. What about you, Ankit? What happened before you went into the interview room? Last 60 seconds before the interview.
Lot of nerves, definitely, right? I think I relate to Sristhi on that part. I don't think there was a single interview where I could sleep well the night before. My first interview, funnily enough, was on Feb 14th, Valentine's Day. So the night before, I was just studying up the history behind Valentine's and everything. But I think one interesting experience I remember was on the day of my IIM Calcutta interview, I actually ended up getting lost on the way to the place where the interview was. Like, I got to the center, IHC, India Habitat. I was in awe of the place. It was so beautiful.
Hmm.
And then I ended up getting lost. So that perhaps made me more nervous, made me panic. But I think in the end, the interview itself, thankfully, with people outside, whether you're nervous, whether you're confident, no matter how you're feeling, you will have people outside there. And as you talk to them, you realize, everyone's sort of in the same boat in one way or the other.
Yep.
And that, to be honest, calms you down. You speak to them, chat with them, they help you, you help them.
Hmm.
And once you step in, you're in a different zone. At least that for me, that's what I tried. That once I step in that room, whatever's happened the night before or the 60 seconds before, forget it, forget the
Hmm.
nerves, leave the nerves out, and then go in and give your best. So yeah, the interview itself was, I would say for me, I didn't have any crazy experiences like Sristhi did. They were fairly standard, very holistic, a bit of a cats, a bit of current affairs, a bit about work and yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah. What about you, Simran? Any interesting questions, any interesting scenarios you faced during your interviews? Because
Yes,
XLRI,
so
I know, is a very grueling interview process. By the way, for those of you who don't know, I think it's one of the more detailed interviews wherein the panelists are very much knowledgeable, I would say. And
yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm asking Simran. Sorry.
Yes, so I think XLRI was the last interview I had. So I was actually more excited because I was like, okay, finally prep khatam ho jayega and then I can just, um, go on trips and all. So I was actually more excited than nervous. And it felt like closure ho jayega finally. And I think when I entered the room, the initial questions were just about my background and my work experience because that was very aligned with the course.
Hmm.
But then I think they again wanted to stress test me. So they were going through my documents and they were looking at my salary slips and they were like, we don't think you deserve to get paid this much in your job. And I maintained a calm face. I think I realized that it's a stress interview they're trying to do. So I was fine. And then they asked me questions. I think one thing XLRI does very heavily is they'll go with a lot of depth. So they probably will not ask you questions that are all over the place, but they'll pick up one area and they'll really nitpick that. So I think that was one thing I do remember. Messing up one or two questions at the end, and I remember feeling like I am not getting in, this is not happening. But again, I didn't let it show on my face. I think I was calm. I just thought, I think it's also important that even if they say something that, we don't think you deserve it, just don't react, and be confident, but also don't be aggressive. So just put your point politely that okay, I understand that, but I feel that these are my reasons, and I feel that's why this was the salary I was getting. And interestingly, I think the person who went after me, I asked her how her interview was because I thought I messed up mine. Let's see if it's just me. So she told me that she was actually told, we're not interested. Please don't waste our time. Go give the BM interview. We're not interested in your profile in HR. And we're both classmates today. So I think you never really know how an interview goes until you get the result. So yeah, I think that was the XLRI interview for me. But yeah, I think I would say just if you're mentioning anything, just make sure that you were thorough with it because they will probably start to um, delve in, and that can be very random what they decide to pick up. I mean, I would not have thought that my salary slips would be being evaluated, but it's all, I think, in retrospect feels okay.
Nice. Nice. So, Srishti, I will come to you because I think
Yeah.
Srishti has to
Yeah.
kind of leave very soon, right? So,
Yes.
I basically have three questions for for each one of you, as in one question for each one of you, and these are very popular interview questions that I'm sure a lot of people will be facing. So you can choose to answer this in two parts. One is basically in terms of what would be your answer, let's say, and the second thing is what would be your advice. And Srishti, you can
Okay.
also give some general advice towards the end, right? This is a
Sure.
surprise question
Yes.
for all of you. They didn't know which question I'm going to ask, by the way. Okay. So,
Yes.
okay. So, Srishti, for you, the first question that I
Hmm.
have is, what would you say is your biggest area of improvement?
Okay. All right. I think one big thing for me is I end up saying yes to a lot of things. A lot of things. I think that's true even in my college. That has been true for my prior to MBA work ex, even in MBA now also. In MBA, because I took up too many case comms at a time with various groups, not able to, probably give that much of focus on each one of them,
Hmm.
which was not right on my part. I feel sometimes two, three case comes at a time, and even in my job, I say yes to everything that my manager says. Srishti, can you do this? Srishti, can you do this more? I was like, yes, yes, I'll do, because probably I think it's not good to be more of a public pleaser, right? It's not a good attitude to be a public pleaser. Just commit to things which you when should actually can do.
Hmm.
That's one thing for sure. It's an area of improvement for me. Um, and that's my answer. And one advice I think that I really have is whenever you do give an answer, make sure you have a good story attached to it.
Yeah.
And definitely on these answers, tell them how you're improving, right? So let's say I'm improving by saying probably trying to think thoroughly of what things I can do. I
Hmm.
maintain, I journal it up right? Let's say 5 days I'm going to dedicate for this task. Now, what am I doing? So I have my way of doing things, let's say my way of improving on certain things. So whenever you're answering a question, if it is a negative toned question, be it your weakness or be it something like that, something of sort of question that sir asked, have a good stories first.
Yep.
Secondly, tell them how are you improving, right? That's the more important part of it, I feel. Yeah, that is it.
Nice, nice. So good answer. And again, so people generally think that you need to have some weakness which is out of the ordinary or something. It's not like that,
No,
right?
no. So I actually want to add that add a point over there. You need not have a very unique weakness or a very
Right.
unique strength. It can be very general, can be very generic. What will make your answer stand out at that point of time would be how you presented, and by how you presented, I mean is you have a good story in place. Right, it should sound convincing that if you tell me you're a problem solver, give me a situation where you have solved a complex problem. If you have you have leadership skills, tell me a place where you've actually driven a team of a few people and you led them to their goal. Give it to me in a situation, task, action, result type of a framework, probably, right? And convince the other person, I have this goal and this is the proof, right? So that's what makes your answer stand out, and that's how the person will also remember you. And at the end of the day, the interview is all about having an impression created on the mind of the interviewer. I feel
Yes.
that's all. Yes. With that, sir, I'll have to drop out because I have a curfew time because of the village I'm living in.
No
So
problem.
all the best, guys. Feel free to reach via LinkedIn or somewhere. Definitely, we'll be happy to answer your questions or anything you want to ask in general about MBA, about foundation school, anything. Right. All the best. All the best for your preparation. Do well and have a great B school experience for sure.
So
All
thank you so
right.
much, Srishti. Thank you. It was
Thank you.
lovely
Thank you,
having you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Okay. So next up, I think Simran will go with you.
Sure.
Chalo.
Yeah.
So I have again one question for you. Describe an incident or an experience wherein you showcased innovation or innovativeness.
Right. So I think in this question, what the interviewers will be trying to assess is whether you can recognize an opportunity or a normal, it can be a normal business as usual task, but whether you can look at it differently. Now, again, this does not have to be a very big problem that you're trying to solve. It can be a simple process at work and it can also be a simple solution that you take, but that's just different. So I think that is important. I think for me, I think one thing that how I would answer it was that in the organization that I was in prior to my MBA, there was a lot of attrition that was happening, and it was mostly attributed to competitor poaching and all of that. But when I came in, I thought that let me actually see what's the cause. So I ran a few surveys. I did benchmarking as well, and I benchmarked policies of my organization with those of competitors. And what I found was that it was actually the HR policies that were causing this attrition. And when we made some changes based on the benchmarking, the attrition reduced from 26% to 8%. So it was just a simple benchmarking exercise and a policy change, but it did have a significant impact. So it can just be a regular problem, but a different approach you take on it. I think that's what the interviewers are trying to assess.
All right. Again, so okay, we are not looking at you inventing something which nobody has invented till now, right?
Yeah,
Again, a lot of people get nervous because they think कुछ तो बड़ा different कुछ बताना पड़ेगा जो किसी ने आज तक नहीं देखा है, but it's generally not
yeah,
the case, right? Um,
exactly.
okay. Over to you, Ankit. एक second. I'll ask you one question. Okay, I have one more question. Yeah. How do you think you can contribute to our campus culture?
I think in these sort of questions, it's good to sort of, again, talk about certain qualities inherent to you, like I spoke about earlier, I think B School is seen as a very rigorous place. But it's important to understand that there's also a fun side to it. While I was not asked a question like this, I think if I had to go about it, I would talk about my own experiences in DTU in the past. So where I'm coming from, the culture that was there, and the various places where I participated in. So it could be investing time in learning about capital societies, going deep into those things. Back in DTU, if I was to be answering this question, I would substantiate by an example about talking about my time at Enactus when I was in DTU. It was a society which worked in the social space. where you would think about creating entrepreneurship opportunities for the underprivileged people, underprivileged segments of in Delhi at that point in time, right? And I would talk about how, with my involvement there, how did the club perform relative to other Enactus branches across Delhi? In a similar manner, B schools also have a very typical college culture. You can talk about how you can contribute in terms of clubs and societies. You can talk about new initiatives you have in place which you would like to bring in, or it could just be simply just making the place more fun by doing pranks. That's it.
Yeah. Nice. So again, as in, they can be simplistic answers. That was basically the point of the exercise, because hearing it from people who have been there, done that, that should give you a lot of confidence in terms of the belief that you would have in your stories. Because a lot of people think about others' stories, but they don't truly believe in the power of their own story. So this is basically your cue. Now we had floated a form before the session, and there are some questions that people have asked. I'll take a few of them, and if you can maybe talk about it in a couple of lines, I think that will be great. People will really enjoy that. So I have one question for you, Simran. It's very relevant to what you have gone through. Might not be exactly the
Right.
same thing, but it's pretty close. So the question is, what do panelists look for in people transitioning from research and purely academic oriented spheres, specifically after an MSc is what they have asked, to management? So how do people justify that shift? So you
Hmm.
already mentioned,
So
but
I
maybe
think. Hmm.
a couple of lines. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think one thing that's important is that B schools look for diversity. So, if you have a different profile, look at it as a source of strength because, they do want that. I mean, in my section itself, we have fashion designer, we have a doctor, I have done my master's in psychology. So it's very important to leverage that experience. And I think academia is also a field that um, is sort of needed for every educational experience.
Hmm.
If you have a grounding in academia and a strong research foundation, it will always help. So it's just important to draw from that, but I think it's also important to show that you can also apply those concepts and it's not just pure research that you're focused on and that you can apply in different spheres. For a specific research that you may have conducted, they can ask you how that would apply in various unrelated sectors, and you should, I think, just be able to demonstrate that applicability. But I
Hmm.
think the difference in profile would definitely be a source of strength rather than a weakness.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think people sometimes get more interested when they see कि अच्छा नहीं, it's some different profile. So, I think there's good scope in that.
I completely agree, Simran. So basically, when I come from that weird background, right? So I'm an MBBS by
Okay. Oh,
graduation, and
oh,
it's a
right.
double-edged sword, right? You already have piqued
Hmm.
their interest, so their interest is here
Hmm.
right now. Now, if
Yeah.
you give disappointing answers, then you will bring it. The fall will be much more dramatic than what maybe an engineer would have had,
Right.
right? So
Right.
you have to handle it very carefully. But as you said,
Hmm.
you have to believe that it is a strength than rather than
Hmm.
a weakness. So completely agree on that
Hmm.
front, Simran.
Right.
I have one question for you, Ankit, as well. Uh, so the question is how to deviate the interviewers from the topic that I am not comfortable with in terms of having a conversation. So how do I deviate people? How do panelists?
I think it's contrary to what sometimes people feel, uh, unless it's a very even if you're talking about the most difficult interviews, so talk about stress interviews, at the end you do have some control because you are the one who drops those cues. Uh,
Yeah.
Depending on what you say, that's the based on the things you say, that's what the next question is always going to be about. So I think if you also want to deviate it to something else, you may not be able to deviate the topic completely, but you can deviate it from one sector to another.
Hmm.
So if we're talking about, say, academics, and maybe that's not your area of expertise, right? For me, while I was an engineer, my academics at that point in time, that was not my area of expertise. And if you ask me anything to do current affairs regarding my profile, I would have struggled.
Yeah.
What I would then do is I would use those same words, that same context, and start putting in cues towards workx.
Hmm.
If say a topic comes up on maybe AI/ML, which was also a thing
Hmm.
back during my interviews, I would probably say, okay, so this is what like, yeah, this is great. It's being used, but in my own firm, I've seen it used in this manner, and in this project, I use it in XYZ way. So you're
Hmm.
sort of now inherently pushing the next cue towards them.
Yeah.
So there is some element of control you can retain, uh, is just about how you plug it in.
Yeah.
It doesn't have you cannot make an unnecessary or irrelevant plug. That's not
Hmm.
going to work.
Hmm.
Find the closest area of comfort for you
Hmm.
from the topic of discussion, and then try to take it towards that area.
Hmm. Hmm. Nice. Right. I completely agree. And my thoughts are very similar. Basically, the idea is that you should be very careful, mindful of whatever you are going to say, especially the big nouns, big verbs that you are using.
Yeah.
You should be very clear of what you're going to say and dig deeper. And I think that is basically what helps in general as well. So yeah, that was nice. Right. So I have one question for both of you, and you can take turns. I'll start with Simran and then Ankit. You can answer. This is kind of the finale of the episode. So the question is, Simran, to you. Um, if there was one conversation, one 60-second conversation that you could have had with yourself a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
you can go back in time and talk to yourself. Uh, what would those 60 seconds sound like?
Hmm. I think yeah, so I think if I went back to, yeah, I think I would tell myself that it's okay, you're doing well. And I think I would appreciate myself for having always only studied or taken up what I was genuinely interested in. I think that went a long way. I don't think I'd have done as well as I would probably am doing now if I'd taken up something that was not my area of strength.
Hmm.
So I think that is definitely something that I would advise to my younger self.
All right. Okay. Ankit, what about you?
Yeah, something similar, right? That it's going to be fine, and more so to just be proud of yourself. I think oftentimes in this journey, sometimes the interviews can be grueling. Sometimes the comparison to peers can also be stressful. It's important to understand that you're also here for the interview, for the same interview with others. You're going to the same places as others. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of where you are, and I think it's important to shift that mindset from one that's very comparative
Hmm.
to others to one that's comparative to yourself. I think the idea is that you should be improving. You feel it. Are you getting better? And more importantly, do you feel you're doing something that you like? As long as
Hmm.
those things are fine, then everything else will fall into place.
So nice. All right. So yeah, that's basically what we had from our end. So we saw a lot of things, and for people who were tuned in throughout the session, I'm sure you would have got those little cues here and there. So of course, interview prep does not mean that we spell out each and every answer to you, saying that okay, this is the sentence that you have to use, and then this should be the flow of thought for any question that is asked to you. That is not how things work. But of course, you will see certain qualities that are there, the way in which you approach questions, the way in which you think about things. In fact, I put all three of them, right? Simran, Ankit, Srishti, they had no idea what questions I was going to ask them. I put them on a spot at a few places. You might not have seen it because they handled it very naturally. And that is exactly what needs to be done when it comes to the interviews as well. So, right. So there were some subtle cues that you can learn from in your entire journey. And HUL, of course, is the organization, the place to be. And I again, you might feel that I'm saying this because this is an HUL related session, but you get into a B school, you will realize what I'm talking about. There are certain brands in a B school that demand that kind of respect, and HUL is definitely one of them. So once you get into the B school, maybe 4, 5, 6 months from now, you will realize what we were talking about, right? And before that, the HUL Foundation School, the forms are open. So do fill up the forms that are there. It's a very short form. You have to talk about your profile, what exactly motivates you, and those kind of things that are there. We also have certain entries that will be forwarded as a part of the point 99 cohort. So because we had done something similar last year and we sent some really good people to the next round. So even this year we have been given the opportunity to nominate a few people. For that you have a separate form. So make sure that you're filling these forms to maximize your chances. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. Please do not regret it. I know the interviews can be grueling. The preparatory process can be rigorous. But please keep some time out for these things because I think it's going to help you. And once you get into B school, of course, you get used to this kind of a multitasking kind of a scenario, right? So that is anyway going to happen. So thank you, Ankit. Thank you, Simran, for agreeing to this, and thank you, Srishti, as well. If you're watching, then thank you so much. I hope your manager is not watching. By the way, your answer I wanted to add that, but that is there. And Ankit, do check out the chat replay. once you are done, I think some of your friends are with us, so they had some nice things to say about you. So do check that out. And
Sure.
Simran, thank you again. You got a very interesting perspective. I've never met someone who is a psychology postgraduate and is pursuing their MBA. So that was very nice hearing from you as well. Right. So thank you guys. Thank
Right.
you everyone for turning up. And yeah, we'll close it on that note. All right. Chalo. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone. All
Thank,
the best.
yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Okay.
So.
I'll close the session. Thank you.